What's it like to send any jump real big with some good air time, even if you don't have time to practice? Hey, I'm Dave Davidson. I'm the founder of Mountain Bike Academy, and I'm on a mission to solve the crash crisis with mountain biking through athleticism. And I'm making this video for you because I hate it when older riders are never able to say, I did it. It's pretty simple. Now, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying this, but stand up to the jump is the exact opposite of what you need to do. Instead, there are 4 components that we need to put together and give you so that you can automatically get that pop like you really want. The first component here is stability. Now, stability off the bike and stability on the bike are correlated, but this stability mainly needs to be something where we manage the fore and aft forces of going up the jump like this. The second component is balance, and this is primarily an off the bike skill, but your ability to have balance off the bike is going to directly correlate to how you do this on the bike. So in other words, if your technique is good and you got balance, it's going to be a little automatic for you. The third component we're going to cover today is raw strength. Raw strength is our ability to handle the G forces of jumps and create the pop, okay? This is not just one thing that's missing, this is typically a system problem. And the final one is jumping technique. Jumping technique is what everybody else focuses on. I'm gonna cover that too in this video. Let's dive right in. Now listen closely, before we go any further, I'm going to show you an athletic test that I give to my students in the Athlete Accelerator. Here's the test I give them to help them determine, hey, you have the raw strength or you don't, in order to jump at the level you want to. So in order to do this, we have to have the ability to basically handle loads coming our way and then explode up off of that load and into the air, which is what creates the pop. So in this test, I'm just gonna hop on the back of my Jeep, jump down, and jump back up. So this is where all the big forces come into play, and this is where you actually get pop on a mountain bike, right? So we're exploding off of our feet. It's a compound movement. And in order to do this, we're using everything, the posterior chain, we're using the core, we're using the upper body, we're using the lower body, and everything goes into this moment right here where we pop off of the ground. Now, there's no more force able to go through the body, but this is the part where on the bike, most people compress and the bike kicks them over the front and they end up going over the bars and crashing. So if you're not able to do this entire sequence of loading and unloading the body, then you're basically a walking over the bar waiting to happen. You need to pay attention to your ability to handle force and redirect that force back up into the air using your body. What we need to do is we need to create this final result. Okay, the final result is we need to have our torso positioned in the right spot, moving in the right direction for the lander. And how we do that down here on the lander all comes from what happens over there on the takeoff. Starting with stability, what we need to do is we need to have the body standing on top of the pedals. You want the majority of the force to go through your strong muscles in your legs, and you want to be able to also create a brace using both your arms and your legs. We don't want to get our weight too far forward on the bike, and we also don't want to get our weight too far back. So instead, what we need to do is stay very centered over the bike. Stability comes from really just your athleticism. Next, let's talk about balance. A lot of this is just going to be off the bike. You've got basic drills where you can just stand on one foot for a minute, and then you've got advanced skills you can work on for balance, like hopping on a slack line or doing tennis ball drills as well. For jumping, hey, you might want to make it fun and maybe carve up the launch, or you want to pop off the lip a little higher. So you need to be able to maintain balance with a little bit of fun and playfulness on the bike, right? All right, number 3 is raw strength. Raw strength is our ability to handle those G forces we talked about earlier with that test. Woo! Off the bike. And there ain't no way to build this other than just off the bike. So if it were me and I didn't have any time, I would either do air squats every day, as many sets as I could just to create an amazing amount of raw strength, or deadlifts if your body can handle it. And if you do have a little bit of time, something you can do to build a lot of raw strength would be once a week plyometrics, no more than once a week, and probably under the supervision of a physiotherapist or a doctor. And finally, technique. Let's just go ahead and break it down. I did a full breakdown of how to do jumping technique-wise. Right here, you can click the link. So in short, it depends a little bit on if this is a small jump or a large jump. So a small jump is something that's maybe a bike length or a bike length and a half on the takeoff. A large jump is something where the takeoff is, 15, 20, 30 feet long. So big, long, smooth takeoffs We're gonna cover that next, but right now we're gonna cover maybe the shorter takeoffs, all right? So with a shorter takeoff, when you get on the bike and you're riding towards this jump, the first thing you need to do is you need to stand tall and doing it in a balanced way, like we talked about in the video so far. So as we're standing up tall, the number one thing we want to do is we want to put our torso on a path to the lander, okay? And so what you have to do is you have to maintain the stature that you have, maintain the body stature that you have, and handle the G-forces coming up at you by standing tall and bracing the body. So when you've got a bike length or two worth of a ramp, the entire time we're pushing evenly into the lip, and then more and more as you get to the end, you're adding a little bit more pressure, all right? So how we do this is you do a little bit more standing up. So in other words, you're pushing through the feet and we're timing it to where we're standing up tall at the very end. Now, if you've ever done bunny hops and you look at good bunny hop form, this is what it looks like. You're fully extended at this time. Just standing up to the jump by lurching your body back or standing up tall really abruptly isn't enough. You have to time it to where you're in a position similar to this at the top of the jump, all right? Now, the key mistake that I see riders make is they overcomplicate this movement and they do a lot of movement. They're doing a lot of standing the torso up this way, or they're pushing their arms out really far, really fast, or standing through the legs really tall, really fast, and then immediately compressing their feet. So what it really is like, if you do it the right way, it's combining the feeling of landing on a trampoline and jumping rope, okay? So if you think about landing on a trampoline, you have to be kind of braced and firm throughout the body. Your core needs to be engaged, and we've got a little bit of a brace here. If you're like me, I'm not the best trampoline jumper in the world. But what you need to do is land on the trampoline and compress and hold it till it goes down to the bottom. And then if you're jumping jump rope, it just kind of feels like you're popping off of the balls of your feet. This is how you do a good, nice pop off of a small jump. This puts your torso on the right trajectory, and then all you want to do is just maintain chin over stem and watch for the lander and have some fun. Now, you can also add to the jump by doing this pop faster or harder. And again, this is where you're going to rely on that raw strength off the bike to be able to add to this. So how am I doing so far? Is this something that's clicking? Put a comment below if this is making sense so far. Next, we're going to talk about larger jumps. So a larger jump, something where you have a longer, smoother takeoff. The key component here is you actually do want to do the same thing, but it's over a longer period of distance. So instead of standing up really tall statically and waiting to do a quick pop, what we're going to do is we're going to stretch it all out. Now, some riders, what they like to do is they crouch a little bit down here, or they start kind of bouncing on the bike back here to load up the suspension. So this is primarily just like the trampoline landing, but then as you're going up the jump, you want to gradually add more and more and more pressure, okay? So the timing here is incredibly important. We want to add the most pressure and start moving up and standing up and compressing through the feet towards the end of the jump. Now, the way we do this is very simple. You need to squat down or create pressure down at the bottom, right here at the very lowest part of the jump, and then push all the way through to the top. What I would recommend to learn this is to find a gigantic tabletop, something where the tabletop, let's see, this one's 15 feet. If you can even get a 20-foot tabletop where the jump is super long, so we're talking about 5, 6, 7 bike lengths on the takeoff. If you can find one of those, this is the perfect place to practice. So what you want to do is come in too slow. Come in just like obviously too slow where you're probably definitely not going to clear the jump. And what you want to do is just practice finding on the takeoff, finding the low point and adding even pressure through the entire move all the way to the end of the lip. Now what's going to happen is you're just going to go 2 or 3 or 4 feet through the air and land on the top of the tabletop nice and safely. But what this does is it teaches you how to apply even pressure where you're standing up the tallest and you're the most finished with the stand-up move at the end, okay? What we don't want to do is jump too early and pull off before the end of the jump. And what we also don't want to do is stay too low the entire time. And then by the end of the jump, we're still crouched down, in which case the back of the bike will get pushed up in the air and you could go over the bars. So that's how you jump a larger jump. All these components together, when you put them together and you practice, even if you have limited time, you can make a lot of progress. This is the same exact process that I worked on with one of my students, John. John's a great dude, super strong, lots of raw strength. We had to work on a little bit of movement, but when we worked on these things off the bike, he was able to really get the timing down and do some bigger jumps than he was used to, and it was a super big win. So shout out to John, really proud of you, man. So if you like this video, join the wait list for the Athlete Accelerator. It is our virtual performance center for intermediate athletes. I can help you jump your bike virtually, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Thanks a ton for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Dave out. Peace.